Hello, my love, and welcome to the Energy Expansion Podcast. I am your host, Dani Kenney, and as always, I'm so incredibly excited to be here with you. Before we dive into the heart of this conversation, and trust me when I say we are gonna go really deep, I want to give you some context in regards to this conversation. So, one thing that you should know is that I'm going to be sharing with you here on the podcast a conversation that was sparked on my social media earlier this week. If you've been tuning in for any length of time, then when I say the 39 to 39 challenge, that will probably ring a bell. If you're new around here, just to fill you in, I had created this really fun personal visibility challenge for myself. It was intended to be 39 live videos leading up to my 39th birthday. We're officially now on the other side of my 39th birthday. I celebrated that over the weekend and we'll be dropping this podcast episode on Wednesday. So when this podcast episode drops, I will be 39 years and 4 days into this life experience. I think that math is right. And so we haven't quite reached our 39 videos, though. We're well on our way. And the video that I did just yesterday was really incredibly powerful. It was raw, it was vulnerable, and if I'm being completely honest, it's definitely one of the most unfiltered conversations that I've ever shared publicly. And I say that really intentionally because I often refer to myself as an open book, which I believe to be true. I believe that in all of the places and spaces, what you see with Dani is what you get. Often people, if we initially connect online through social media or through the podcast or through a coaching program, and then we meet in real life, people are always like, oh, you're exactly how you present. You're exactly the way that I thought you'd be. And I'm like, yes, because who else would I be if not all of me? But people say that sometimes with surprise because I don't think that that's always the case. I think that there's maybe a show, a performance, a persona that people put on when they're showing up online or they're showing up in their business, and then that might not be who they truly are in real life. And there's no judgment, there's no finger pointing. I'm just sharing who I am and what's real and true for me. All of that being said, there are some certain things, though, about my life and my past, really deeply personal things that don't always feel directly connected to my work. And so they don't always seem actually relevant, while simultaneously there's power in our story and in our experiences. And that's something that I preach often. And I do my best to practice. And also, I'm really discerning with what I share, specifically on the public level. It's a little bit different for people who are inside of my closed communities and coaching programs. I quite literally hold nothing back there, but I am really mindful and intentional about what I share on public platforms. And so in this conversation, I go a little bit deeper than I ever have before. That being said, this is me sharing a live video that I did. At the time of this recording, it was literally the day after my 39th birthday, like within 24 hours of my birthday. And you'll hear me say that I showed up with the intention of it being a really short video because I have been losing my voice / getting my voice back. I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear it on here. And the funny thing is, it ended up being one of the longest in length, but also deepest and richest conversations that I've had publicly in a really long time. And so what you're going to hear is the relationship, or I should say the lack thereof relationship that I have with my dad, the specific and painful ways that that's shown up for me throughout my life, and specifically on birthdays, how that showed up this year. And also you'll get to hear me have breakthrough moments in the conversation. There are connections and realizations that I was making in real time. It was honestly a really healing conversation to have with my community. And so I'm sharing this conversation on today's episode with you because I believe in the power of our stories. I believe that when we're brave enough to share the messy, complicated, and beautiful truth of what it means to be human, we give other people permission to do the same. And I have a feeling that if you're listening right now, there's going to be some part of my story, my relationship with my dad, again, or lack thereof, and then also the lessons, the fears, the feels that were coming up around my birthday. I have a feeling you're going to be able to relate to some of this. So maybe you're navigating a complicated relationship with a parent. Maybe you're in a season of life where you're feeling equally excited and terrified about what's ahead. That's part of what I share. And maybe you're dealing with your own version of feeling behind, not enough, or like you're running out of time to accomplish everything that you've been dreaming of. If any of that speaks to you, is true for you, one, I want you to know that you're not alone. And what I share in today's episode might just be the permission slip that you need to honor your journey exactly as it is and to honor you exactly as you are. So grab your favorite beverage, get comfortable, and know that what you're about to hear is me completely unscripted, unedited, literally processing the lessons and ahas and the heartbreak and the joys of turning 39 in real time. So, without further ado, let's dive in. My love, it feels so good to be back here with you after a long holiday weekend. And I'm on, if you can hear it, I'm on the tail end of losing my voice slash getting my voice back. And so if you missed me like I missed you, that's what we had going on. And today feels like an especially fun, important day and milestone for us because many of you know that one of the things that prompted me to do our daily live, which has turned into going live about 4 or 5 days a week, which is really darn good, going from 0 days a week to many times a week. What prompted this was my 39th birthday, leading up to my 39th birthday. And that, fam, was yesterday. And so here we are. It feels like this is my first full day as a 39-year-old. And the last year in my 30s, I have lots of feels about that. And I want to be mindful too, there's like a million things I want to share with you. So many things happening in my head, in my heart, in my world that I think you could relate to, that I think would be helpful for you to hear about, that might feel surprising to you. But I also want to be mindful time-wise today, like how long we are together, mostly how long I'm talking, because I really need to heal the voice, the throat. And so I'm hoping that I can have today be a little bit more concise and then break up some of the other things that I want to share with you. This birthday, this number in particular, has stirred up a lot. Oh my goodness, more than I was prepared for. And so just from the lessons and learnings and feels coming up, just around what it means to be another year older. And again, I think something might have to do with this being the last year in a particular decade. It feels like it carries more weight. And in some ways, I feel like that's a good thing and I'm loving it. And in other ways, I feel like I'm putting a ridiculously amount of unnecessary pressure on myself, which is the thing that feels surprising. I'm a little caught off guard about. And so again, I'm going to chunk this down in different pieces and over the coming days and months. But this again feels like a really big deal. Stephanie says, I remember this feeling when I went into my last year of my 30s, heading into my 40s. I was going through it hard. Yeah, let me bring you into this really quickly. So, first of all, not feeling physically well on your birthday. This is interesting. Okay, I said this today was going to be a shorter live because I really want to preserve my voice. If you guys don't know, a dear friend and client of mine, her name is Paula Collins. She's hosting a totally free 5-day event this week. Today was day 1. The event is called Belonging. I'm very excited to be a part of it. I'm speaking on Wednesday And I'm speaking on the day that's all about using your voice and the importance of expression and your story and your truth. And so I need to preserve my voice so I can use it on Wednesday when I'm talking about it. And so I will share the link if you'd like to join us. We would love to have you. I'll get you the link to that. Stephanie, yeah, okay. I'm so curious. And, I feel like maybe I had a similar feeling when I was 29 going into 30, but I really don't think so. I think that 39 is a really interesting age because I think what happens, it's this tipping point where, if I'm being completely honest, and I love getting wisdom from women who are older than me, right? They know things. And I feel like your 30s and 40s is where you really feel solid in your identity and who you are, and you stop caring. You stop giving so many F's. But like, I'm still at an age where I give too many F's and I'm learning how to not care about what other people think about me more and more. But like, deep down, I still kind of do. And so I think like 49 to 50, if we have anyone who's touched the 49 to 50, is that like a free for all, really exciting? Does it feel like pressure? I feel like there's this very, very interesting dynamic of going from your 30s to your 40s. And so I'm, again, not feeling physically well, stirred up a lot of things. I'm not typically a big hurrah birthday person. I think birthdays are important and sacred and worth celebrating. But I'm not the kind of person who typically, if things don't go well or like the way that I wanted to on my birthday, I don't freak out about it. And I just say this because I get that people do. How do I know? I've had a lot of friends, past roommates before I was married, who would spin out if their birthday wasn't perfection. And I never really understood that. And that's okay if that's you. It's not typically me. But not feeling physically well put a weird damper on my birthday. Again, it also stirred up. I just got really reflective and introspective and was celebrating everything I've accomplished up until now. But there were also these stories, and this is like part of what I'm going to share with you today, because I promise this will apply to you regardless of when your birthday is or how old you are. But there were these stories around feeling behind, like not having done enough leading up until now. And again, that wasn't the only narrative, but it was like all of these things rushing in all at once. And I have really big goals for my 40th birthday. And it's not just like, oh, all of a sudden I thought about these. 40 has been on my radar for many years. When I turned 36, I was very excited to turn 36, and I knew that I still had 37, 38, 39. But when I turned 36, it was like the first time I felt 40 on the horizon, and I was genuinely excited. And I still am genuinely excited. And so I've had 40. It's not like I make goals and push them back and push it back until I get to 40. No, 40 has been this mile marker for me for several years of certain things in honestly every area of my life that I plan to have accomplished and dialed in. And so turning 39 yesterday, it was like, okay, boo, these last several years of thinking about it and planning and visioning and dreaming, like, girlfriend, you got 365 days, right? And so again, there's that level of excitement, but it also feels like this sort of unnecessary pressure. All of the feels. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm processing a lot. Do I share this? I have chills. So I don't talk about this a lot. And I think it's something that I think people might look at me and be like, oh, it's all rainbows and butterflies for her. She's got it all easy. My friend, no, it is not rainbows and butterflies. I don't have it easy. Some days, sure, like I wish it was easier. And there's so many things that I have going on that I'm navigating that I don't often share. And one of those is, and how much of this do I want to share? I don't really have a relationship with my dad. My dad is alive. And honestly, there's something interesting about this because I have a lot of friends who one or both of their parents have passed, and I have a tremendous amount of love and respect for people who are navigating the human experience without one or both parents. And there's also a really interesting dynamic when you have a living parent who actively chooses not to be a part of your life. That's like a different kind of pain. And that's a pain that I have navigated for most of my life. And it gets illuminated on birthdays in a really big way. And I try to pretend like I don't care. Like, he's dumb, he can go do his thing over there, and I'm over here, who cares? But deep down, I do care. And daddy stuff has been coming up a lot over the last couple of months, like out of nowhere, hitting me like a wave. And I think it also has to do with getting older. Yeah, Stephanie says it's a different kind of grief. Yeah. And it's not a comparison game at all. But sometimes I wonder, I'm like, would it feel less painful if someone wasn't on the planet and you missed them in that way? I don't wish this for him or anyone else. But like, I think it's different when someone is no longer on the planet versus when they actually are and they choose. I don't think this is like a conversation. I've never heard anyone have this conversation, and I'm still grappling with this on my own. So I'm curling my hair, getting ready for church. It's my birthday and Easter at the same time. And I look down at my phone and I see that I have a text from dad. I forgot that he was even in my phone. And it said, "Happy Easter, dear. I also know that today is your birthday. I hope all is well." Something you should know is that I have not had any communication or correspondence with my dad in 3 years. And every correspondence, I am the one initiating it. And then he may or may not respond. And I scrolled through my phone, and it's been almost 10 years since my dad wished me a happy birthday. And I instantly, Stephanie says, "Oh, wow, that would have absolutely thrown me off." I started shaking and like instantly sobbing, and I did not understand. Like, I had no words. I don't know what was happening. And so my husband just grabbed me and held me, and he's like, "What's going on?" And I was like, I have no idea what's happening. And so I'm here today just to be really open and honest with you. And there's a handful of you who are here right now, and thank you for receiving this. I don't consider this a bad thing. It's just my honest experience right now in this moment of what it means for me to be human, what it means for me to be navigating all of this. I am extremely excited about the year ahead. There have been some opportunities that are landing in my lap, and the level of bigness that these are, I want them. And I'm also shaking in my boots, which I think is the absolute best place to be. And it's stirring up so much. And that's where we're at today, fam. There is actually a card. This is what I came to share when I was like, this live is not going to be very long because I need to preserve my voice. And here we are 15 minutes in. Before we hop off, I wanted to share something, a message that I shared with the women who are inside of Energy Expansion Academy. So every Monday at 9 a.m., I go live with the women inside of EEA, Energy Expansion Academy, which is my signature group coaching program. And it's a live Q&A, and I will also just kind of riff. And I shared, not quite to this extent, because that's not necessarily what our lives are all about inside of that community, but I shared little bits and pieces around the questions and the bigness and the excitement and the simultaneous pressure and overwhelm that I'm feeling, and how I'm navigating these things, and being really mindful, intentional, and discerning of the energy from which I'm choosing to move into this next year, into these next 364 days. I'm thinking about getting like a calendar, a wall hanging calendar. I have a million calendars, but like a wall hanging calendar. I need a different kind of calendar, and like having a red Sharpie and putting an X through every single day, like how someone who's training for something really big. That's how my 40th birthday, a year away. That's what it feels like. It feels like an energetic marathon in the most badassery kind of a way. I think it's awesome when people commit to something, like some sort of typically physical. A true marathon is a physical milestone, accomplishment, feat, if you will. And I feel like this is an energetic, a life one. And it feels like that is what's being asked of me. And so with all of this, there's the excitement, but then there's all kinds of not so great stories and narratives and things that I'm navigating as well. So here's what I want to share with you that's going to apply to you regardless of where you are, how old you are, what month or day your birthday is. And feel free, if you're able to, like actually, if you're not on the go, if you want to close your eyes and maybe place one or both of your hands over your heart. I pulled a card from something known as the Soul Truth Self Awareness deck. And what came up was this question of what if it isn't true? What if it isn't true? It says, the thing you're telling yourself right now, the concrete reasons why you think you don't belong, why you think you can't do it, why you won't get there, why you're not enough, that it's just not for you. What if it wasn't true? It's time for a soul chat. Close your eyes and put your hand over your heart and ask the wise one within you, what if it wasn't true? What else might be possible? So that's what I wanted to share with you. This beautiful message. This really landed for me this morning. And when I was sharing it with the women inside of Energy Expansion Academy, they were losing their mind with the level of resonance, the way that this message landed in their hearts and in their energy fields with where each of them are at. And this landed for me as well. So that's what I want to leave you with. All of these things were coming up, and I wanted to share them while they're fresh, while they're here, while they're now. And so I'm going to sign off here in just a second and rest my voice for the rest of the day. But one thing that I want to remind you of, and this is so fitting, especially with the component, me sharing like what was coming up with my dad, there is a level of sadness and also shame. All right, love, real quick pause because I have to tell you about something that is truly life-changing. If you've been in my world for any amount of time, then there is a 99.9% chance that you have heard me talk about Energy Expansion Academy, which is my signature group coaching program where I teach the exact tools, rituals, mindset shifts that helped me create a life that goes beyond my wildest dreams and has transformed the lives of hundreds of women that I've had the honor of serving. And for the first time ever, it is now available as a self-paced experience. That means you get to move through this powerful transformation on your own terms, in your own timing, and in full alignment with your life. This is for the woman who's ready to shift her energy, elevate her mindset, and finally become the most confident, fulfilled, and successful version of herself. Without the hustle, without the overwhelm, and without the second guessing. If you've been feeling the nudge to join us inside of EEA, then this, my love, is your sign. You'll find the link in the show notes or just DM me EEA on Instagram and I'll personally send it your way. Now, let's get back to the episode that you came for. This feels really, really big. I didn't realize it until November of last year. You guys remember when I did my NLP breakthrough experience? I talk about it quite often. I talked about it on our last live podcast episode of the Energy Expansion podcast episode 45. We go into the nitty-gritty of it, but I released literally a lifetime worth of shame during that breakthrough day. And 100% of the shame was around having a father in this lifetime who didn't choose me, who didn't want me, and made that abundantly clear on so many occasions, more occasions than I could possibly count. A lot of those happened around, this is so crazy, around literal birthdays. I remember sitting at the roller skating rink, waiting for my dad to pick me up on my birthday after the party that my mom had thrown for me, and he never showed up. And so there's like stuff around birthday and dad, and specifically shame. I know that this story is not unique to me, and I'm not going to pretend like I'm a special snowflake, but it's hurtful to me and it's shaped me for better and for worse as a person And I know that there's probably like 50% of people watching this can relate to this in some way, shape, or form with mom or dad or whomever it might be. And I'm very hopeful that a lot of you are like, what the heck is she talking about? Because I can't relate to that. I want that for everybody. And I just know that's not the case for everybody. But on the breakthrough day, so many of the instances for clearing deep rooted emotions came up around the literal day I was born, and not being wanted, not being chosen, and not only not being wanted, not being chosen, but literally being rejected. Having one of the two people who are here to be your guides in this lifetime, having one of those people be like, I'm a hard no to you and I don't want you. And so I released an insane amount of shame, a lifetime's worth of shame. And now that I'm thinking about it, because the dad stuff and the shame has been amplified around my literal day of birth and then many of my actual birthdays over the last 39 years, I would not for a second be surprised if, because of the release work that I did last November, is why I heard from my dad yesterday for the first time on my birthday. Still don't know how I feel about it. I absolutely text him back. I said, hey, Dad, it's really good to hear from you. This message meant a lot to me. And I sent him a bunch of pictures of my kids and updated him, but he's never met my son. My daughters don't ever remember meeting him. At one point, not that long ago, one of my daughters goes, Mom, how did your dad die? I said, he didn't. He didn't. And they were like, what? Like, where is he? How come he's not here? I said, because he doesn't want to be. That was a crazy thing to think about, right? But so I would not be surprised if the power of releasing all of that opened up a portal for healing for me, first and foremost. And I have zero expectations around what happens with me and my dad. I would really love to have an incredible, loving relationship with him. I don't know if he's capable of that. I don't know if that's possible for us, but there was healing for me and I got what I needed, regardless of what happens next. So the reason I'm sharing this with you is because you literally watched me have this aha moment. I had not thought about that at all. And the interaction with my dad, the birthday yesterday, my literal day of birth, and what happened on the NLP breakthrough day. But what I'm sharing with you is I have never experienced in my over 12 years of doing this work anything more powerful, transformative, life-changing, like truly, truly, truly at the deepest levels than a full breakthrough day. And so for the month of April only, I'm offering, it actually ends up being, when you look at the regular investment and what I'm offering them now, it's a little more than 50% off a breakthrough day with me. And a breakthrough day is so much more than just one day, but the amount that we can get done in spending about 7 to 8 hours in one day, and then the prep work and the post-integration work included, will completely change everything for you. And so that's what I want to leave you with. If you're interested in learning more about the breakthrough day, DM me the word breakthrough and I'll just send you over the Google Doc that has everything, and we can set up a call to find out if it's a good fit for you. What was supposed to be our shortest live of them all to preserve my voice ended up being officially our longest live, but what needed to be shared was shared here today. I really hope that it made a difference for you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for those of you who were live and engaging. You know who you are. I love all of you so much, and I'll see you again very soon. All right, fam, that was it. You're still here. You're still with me. Thank you so much. Thank you for being a part of this conversation, for tuning in, for witnessing me in a level of vulnerability, like I said, that I don't share every single day. And most importantly, thank you for being a part of this community where we get to show up as our full, messy, perfectly imperfect selves. And I want to leave you with this question one more time. What if it isn't true? Did that land for you? When I pulled that card for the women inside of Energy Expansion Academy, and before I even uttered a word, I just pulled it, set it down on my desk, and I saw the words. I felt it in my bones. So what if it isn't true? Whatever story you're telling yourself right now about why you can't, why you're not enough, all of the reasons why you don't belong, in my case, why I wasn't chosen, why you feel like you're maybe too late. What if it wasn't true? What else might be possible? I love that. Definitely sit with that a little bit longer. And if this episode resonated with you and you're ready to do the deep work, the work works, baby. The deep work of releasing the stories, the shame, the limiting beliefs, all of the things, the patterns, the programming that's been holding you back, then I want to remind you, as you just heard, thanks to Dani earlier this week, that we've got something so special going on right now. For the month of April only, I am offering over 50% off of the regular investment for our NLP breakthrough days. And there's actually a few different options depending on what you're looking for and what would work best for you. And like I mentioned, I have never in my 12 plus years of doing this work experienced anything this deep. Anything that's ever, I keep saying the word deep because there is a level of depth that gets created when we spend 7 to 8 hours together in one sitting. It is really, truly unlike anything I've ever experienced before. And if you're feeling curious about it, you're probably feeling curious because it is for you. So if you want to learn more, the easiest way to do that is to just send me a simple DM on Instagram with the word breakthrough, and I'll send you a Google Doc with the details. We'll keep it really easy around here. And we can even hop on a totally free call to see if it's the right fit for you. Speaking of Instagram, if we're not already connected there, let's go ahead and get connected. I go live multiple times a week. We get to have some powerful, real, raw conversations in real time, as you can tell by today's episode. And I'd love to connect with you there. And finally, if this episode meant something to you, it would mean the world to me if you would share it. Maybe send it to a friend who needs the message like the one that we dove into together today. Post it on your stories, tag me, leave a review. All of those things help more than you can possibly imagine. And your support really just means the world. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for doing the work. I love you so much, and we'll see you on the next one.